Hello, 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 and welcome to the big show. This is Dim Lights and Stiff Drinks at Dive Bars of Seattle. This podcast, dingy taverns, back alley saloons, greedy roadhouses, and dive bars of the greater Seattle area. We explore the seedy history, salacious backstory of these timeless drinking establishments, along with sampling what's on tap and swapping tall tales along the way. We hang out in the places where sorrows are drowned and future regrets are made, so you don't have to. But we don't just talk about these awesome dive bars in the confines of some cushy recording studio.
No, this isn't some Zoom call BS work from home bullshit.
Yeah, none of that crap.
We're on location.
No. We come to you live directly from Seattle's greatest watering holes. And tonight, we are here at Shorty's Tavern in beautiful Belltown. With me, as always, is the Dim Lights crew. Maybe we should call ourselves the Dim Bulbs crew. That joke never gets old. Never gets old. 4, 5, 6 seasons, still good. Still classic. Yeah. Bob, producer extraordinaire.
Hey now.
Noted historian and celebrated author Brad Stash Panda.
Hello.
Sweet MF and Lou.
On the mic, thank you.
That's right. And I'm your host for this episode, DJ Side Pocket.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
DJ Side.
There's no pool tables here.
Yeah, no, but there is pinball, and we're going to get into that. And pinball is based on some, there's a whole crossover with the pocket. Anyway, you're going to get into that. We're going to get into that later. All right. So we, like I said, we are at Shorty's Tavern in beautiful Belltown. And Brad, why don't you kick us off a little bit about the history of the joint?
So, yeah, as Jeremy mentioned, we're at the popular Coney Island-themed pinball bar in Belltown, and that bar is, of course, Shorty's. It's one of the epicenters of the pinball scene here in Seattle. There's the museum down in the International District, of course. But this is the OG pinball place. This is the first one that kind of kicked off the pinball renaissance,
yes.
Which we're going to get into.
Drink at the other one.
And that's a good point, too.
You can. They have, I believe they have beer. They have. I know they have beer. So they probably have wine.
Okay.
I don't know if they have a full liquor license, but it's a family place, so it's a little different.
But you can get a beer there, okay.
It's like drinking at Disneyland. It's
Yeah.
not the same thing.
And it's a cool place. I've been there a couple times.
I mean, a beer costs $24?
Yeah. Now, as far as pinball goes, so for those who don't know, Seattle has a very interesting history when it comes to pinball machines. Pinball machines first came out in the 30s and originally used as gambling devices where they didn't have flippers. Rather, you would just launch the ball into the playfield, it would bounce around a little bit, and then wherever it randomly landed, you could win games or prizes.
That's right. It was kind of like a slot machine where you could put more money in and get the pot bigger.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they were very popular. So as a result of their popularity, they also became pretty controversial because they were gambling devices.
Mm-hmm.
They were played as games of chance rather than games of skill that they're played now.
Too many husbands coming home on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Their paycheck already.
Yeah,
that's
there's
right.
a lot of that. There's a lot of stories of school children spending all their lunch money on the pinballs and stuff. As a result of this, many parts of the country just kind of outlawed them altogether. The city of Tacoma, for instance, banned them in the 1940s. But Seattle saw how much money they were making, and instead of outlawing them, decided to tax them, and subsequently made a fortune in tax and licensing revenue. The bottom line, though, is that they were huge money makers, and not surprisingly, organized crime quickly became involved. This continued for several decades, and things got really gnarly in the 1950s when two different pinball rackets basically decided to declare war with one another. One of these pinball rackets was run by the infamous Colicurcio brothers, who ran a local
Heard of those
jukebox
guys.
and pinball business. Yeah, they've been around for
Corleones of Seattle.
basically.
Nice fellas.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what they did is, so starting in the 1950s, the rivalry between them and their a group known as the AAS, kind of a union-backed pinball conglomerate. Suddenly, there was a string of bombings, and basically the Colicurcio, although they were never publicly accused of it, were basically bombing their rivals using dynamite.
All this for a couple quarters? What were the stakes in this?
You don't
Well,
understand.
no, they were
you don't
money
understand
makers.
what it's like.
They were money
That's-
makers
Yeah.
back then. They were huge money makers.
Equivalent of what you would say is a multi-million-dollar industry.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the quarter. It's not the quarters going into the machine. It's the cash flow.
It's the cash
This
flow.
is
Yeah.
my business you're messing with.
So shit got real. Things got serious. So there were a total of 5 bombings altogether. They were bombing like the cars of their rivals. There was a business up on Queen Anne that was a pinball distribution company.
Did they call this the pinball bombings?
The local newspapers did at the time.
Oh,
yeah.
of course.
Yeah. Wow. The mayor got involved. Pinballs almost got banned as a result. The mayor wanted to ban them, but the city council didn't because they were making so much money. So it became very scandalous and controversial. They were in the
there's
newspapers.
bombings, but the money.
But think about the money.
Think about the children. It all goes to schools and churches.
Pretty much. Now, these scandals, there were a lot of political scandals involved in it. At one point, couple people turned up dead. I mean, things got really serious. This continued up until the 1970s when they kind of became more mainstream. And they kind of made the switch from being gambling devices to amusement devices like how we know them today.
Whoa. Back up there. So, this switch that you're talking about,
Yeah.
it feels like a little bit of chicken and egg situation, right? Did they switch because they saw the writing on the wall and like, oh shit, we're getting like outlawed left and right? Or was it just like, hey, it's actually more fun if you do it this way and then change it?
There was
the impetus for this change, right?
Well, there was a string of events. Basically, they took the ability to pay out prizes and money away, and they kind of had to make the switch from games of chance to games of skill.
There were also 2 different kinds of machines. The bingo machines, they look like pinball machines,
right?
But they were the gambling machines. So anything that was flipperless was basically considered a gambling device,
right?
Game of chance.
Right.
As opposed to a game of skill.
Right.
And the manufacturers, like for instance Gottlieb, would have us say on the back glass, a game of skill.
Game of skill.
Yeah.
They had to
they had to be labeled like that, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe not necessarily by law here, but or they couldn't have a credit meter.
Yeah.
So you couldn't have any replays.
Yeah.
But there was no monetary.
Yeah, they didn't pay out any like money or prizes or anything.
An extra game was the best you could hope for.
That was the best you could hope for.
Yeah.
And the games of chance, had
yes.
very serious regulatory and inspection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They had to have like a token or something installed in the machine to show that it was certified and all this kind of crap.
Yeah. And now it's just the casinos where you can.
Well, we should probably take a second here and introduce who has given us all this awesome information about pinball. So, Brad, we know your voice, but Avout, thanks again for joining us here. About's
regular contributor to the show.
Thank you.
To the show. Came back in season 1 and now back in season 2.
And also the owner of Shorty's, which is where we're at tonight.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, fantastic.
So.
And you know a great deal about not only Shorty's, which we're here talking about and enjoying, but the history of the area, the history of dive bars in particular, and of course, near and dear to your hearts of pinball machines like we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the second part of your question, so like in the late 70s, early 80s, when they kind of started becoming more mainstream and not so controversial, that's also when video games entered the picture, right?
Right.
And at that point,
Video killed the pinball star?
Pretty much. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, we were all kids when video games came on the scene, right? I remember that so vividly.
When you got your
Asteroids.
Atari.
Yeah, but even like when you'd go out to the pizza parlors or the arcades, Space Invaders, Asteroids, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Galaga, all the other ones, Dig Dug, yeah.
Who wants to play Ace of Spades pinball when you could play
Dig Dug.
Or Pong?
Or Centipede.
I think you need to go back older, right? Because
Pong was really old,
It was old. It was original OG, like Pong and shit.
Oh, yeah.
It was coming on the scene that was really taking pinball's lunch money.
Oh, yeah.
Literally and figuratively. Hey, now.
Yeah, so as a result, pinballs kind of became obsolete for maybe a couple decades, I would say. Until
lost a little bit of their luster, still around,
lost a little bit of their luster.
Yeah,
still saw them from time to time.
5-10 years. It was a 5 or 10 year period.
But they were collecting dust. There was a decade or two where they were collecting a lot of
Not
dust.
as many new machines coming out.
And the industry consolidated where Williams bought Bally.
Yep.
So Bally is exclusively focused on slot machines at that point. And it goes back to what you just said earlier. That's where the money is.
Yeah, right.
The organized crime is not necessarily interested in pinball because it's
too
much
there's no money to be made from them anymore.
Not enough work,
all this damn
money.
quarters, forget about it.
Forget about it. Now,
Yeah.
this continued until the 1990s when they slowly started staging a nostalgic comeback.
Yeah.
Here in Seattle, one of the first places to kick off this pinball resurgence was none other than where we're at tonight, Shorty's. And this was around in 1997 when Shorty's first opened. And Ewout, this is where I'm going to kind of have you come in and help me kind of narrate the story of Shorty's.
Yeah.
So Shorty's opened in 1997.
Correct.
It's a pinball-themed restaurant, and its first owner was Martha. What was her last name?
Martha Manwaring,
Okay.
who was already a fixture here in Belltown. There was a couple of older, vintage clothing stores where people would come and buy their vintage Levi's. And from what I understand, they were primarily Japanese kids. They paid big bucks for a Biggie Levi, a pair of Levi's, and but eventually that kind of dried up, and I'm not sure exactly how it all went down because I wasn't part of that.
You weren't here just yet when it first opened.
No,
Yeah.
no, I was still in.
And you
a
arrived on the
baby in
scene,
Amsterdam.
what, like maybe a year or so after it first
I
opened?
missed. I think the first time I set foot in Shorty's was in '98.
98,
like,
okay.
late, like Thanksgiving or something. I forget.
And it wasn't really a bar at that point, right? Wasn't it?
At that
was
point,
it still a
it
restaurant?
was a tavern. It
was a tavern,
and
okay.
that's I wanted to say something about that because it's a little confusing when people talk about taverns and how the liquor laws have changed in Washington State over the past few decades. you
Right.
know.
And if you have to serve food, right?
Well, I think a tavern
Only serves beer.
beer, beer,
Right.
beer and wine.
If you're
yeah.
called a tavern, you
Yeah.
gotta stick with the.
Yeah.
That doesn't really apply anymore, though. I know we've been to a few taverns
change-
that
yeah, change
that
the
sell
name.
hard liquor.
Well, there is, for instance, a sloop is a real tavern. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
in my mind is okay. That's what it. There's no misnomer there. You walk in the door, you know you're going to be able to buy yourself a beer or maybe a Mike's Hard Lemonade.
right.
Sorry,
But Daryl's Tavern, for instance, it's
It's
a
no
tavern,
longer-
but you can go there and you can get hard booze there.
Full,
But I
yeah.
think they were a
yeah.
tavern, but they just didn't
Exactly.
change the name.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Tavern, you know,
Hoagie's Tavern,
it was a
too.
true beer and wine only up
Yeah.
until a year ago or whenever
Right.
they.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you don't want to see, and we never had that. We never had Shorty's Tavern or Shorty's Bar. It was just Shorty's Coney Island.
Okay.
And then that kind of piqued people's interest because, okay, what is that? Do you guys have Coney Island dogs? What
Well, I was just gonna say, legally with the name, Coney Island, you must by law serve hot dogs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh well,
And
we
you
al-
do, so
yeah,
you-
we
you
always
know.
have. Yeah,
So you're
Yeah.
good.
and we used
So
to have
you're
the Coney
fine.
Island sauce, but nobody would ever eat it, so it wouldn't be shipped here, and we have to toss it. It was expensive, and so that kind of that went away actually before I got involved. But yeah, to get back to your question, it was the first 6 months. This place was soda. Well, there was no alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And pinball, right?
And pinball. Yeah,
pinball.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it started off very much of a vintage retro vibe, kind of playing off the whole thing with the vintage clothing stores
Yeah.
that were super popular at the
Right.
time, and
Yeah.
somebody was like, "Oh, hey, let's expand." And
Yeah, well, I think what is a key element is, and again, I wasn't there for that part. I've only met some of these people. For instance, Larry Reed is a Seattle staple who's been around for a long time.
Jerry always talks about Larry Reed.
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah, and he, guys like him. I mean, there was a community, and they
Right.
said, okay, we're gonna build this bar. Everybody chipped in, and they built this little pinball. And it wasn't a bar; it was an arcade. That's what it
Right.
was. And and it was great. They designed the whole place to make it look like an inside of a pinball machine, and it was done really well. But then, of course, after being open for a few months or a half a year or so, you realize this is a business. We got to make money,
Yeah.
and things had to change.
what could we add to make more money
Yeah.
to this
Alcohol.
business?
Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah,
So that's
And
when it became a tavern.
that's when it became a tavern. But it didn't get renamed. It was still just
It was
Shorty's
still
Coney Island.
Shorty's, yeah.
Shorty's Coney Island. Yeah,
So you arrived on the scene in '98
correct.
as a customer.
Yeah.
Kind of started hanging out. And
A grumpy customer.
A grumpy customer, yeah. And we were talking. You and I were
Grumpy
talking
because he couldn't
yesterday.
be able to get a beer.
I couldn't find a decent pinball machine. They were all broken.
Well, that's where I was going. So we were talking yesterday, and you were talking about how you were playing the machines. But so a little backup here. So you originally owned or were part of a pinball repair business in Holland, where you're originally
I was just
from?
a hobby. Yeah, I did that in my high school years. I was a pinball tech.
Pinball tech, yeah.
So I was riding shotgun with other guys.
Yeah.
With a driver's license. Because in Holland you couldn't drive until you're 18, and by the time you're out of high school.
So you almost went through kind of an apprenticeship of
Right.
sorts,
Yeah.
learning the trade.
These people were instrumental in my pinball career because they provided me basically with beer money and grass money, all the way through high school.
Very important people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
you learn how to repair pinball
Yes.
machines.
Yeah, and not only that, because I lived in a small town and there were not many bars and everything closed at 2 a.m. You were done. The only place that was open was the biker bar, and nobody dared to go in there, except for me, because I knew the guys, because I would go there to fix their damn pinball machine all the time.
You heading in, all right.
Hey, Walt, hey.
Yeah, so they welcomed you in.
Pinball
Yeah.
opened
Keep
so
the
many
pinballs
doors.
going.
It did.
Yes.
It did.
Well, it's just a cool, organic journey that you went on as far as pinball goes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was just your path that you were meant to be on, and you
Yeah.
got on it at an early age, and you've
Yeah.
been on it ever since.
Yeah, and that whole thing in the high school was not because I had nothing better to do. It was truly something I wanted to do because I was already, playing pinball at the time and trying to find pinball machines as a younger kid. Which is hard, of course, because most machines are in places where you cannot go
over
when
18
you're.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you were a Dutch pinball wizard.
I was a
Way to get pinball with you.
yeah. How would they say that in Holland? I don't even know. But yes, I wasn't necessarily good, but I was, I was
You knew your
interested.
way around a machine. You could
Yeah,
do
and
that basic
to
repairs
find
and stuff.
find places where you could play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a kid.
Well, and then the massive skill, like you're standing at a table and you're like, oh, that light's burned out, or that counter's not working right, or that bumper's busted.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, give me a second.
Yeah.
You pop her open. And
yeah.
Yeah.
I had a play. There was a club where bands played in my hometown, and the guy who ran the game there, he was such a slacker. He would never show up, and it's like, come on, guys, and I know what's wrong, and then so okay, well, they gave us a key. For the money, because we need to take the money out. So, okay, open it up. I'll fix it for you. So I fixed the game, and as I'm working on it, the guy shows up. It's like, what the hell are you doing with the pinball machine? It's like, oh, shit. Sorry, I was just trying to...
well, rogue repairs. Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Get
Okay.
down. Yelling at me, and...
Man, I'm just trying to fix it.
yeah, but, I was just a little punk rock kid at the time, and the guy shooed me away, and... don't do yelling at me, and it's like, okay, fine. Years later, when I was turned 18, I go for my driver's exam, my driver's test. I open the door. Who's my examinator? It's that fucking guy.
Oh, did he remember you?
Yes. It's like, hey. It's like, oh my god, he failed me.
Oh, what an ass!
man.
Yeah.
What an ass!
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes, I learned my lesson.
Told the
Dad.
guys, like,
I'm
man,
sorry,
you're
I'll never
welcome.
do it again.
Welcome for fixing your
No,
goddamn
well, I did
machine.
learn my lesson because now I will certainly not fix somebody else's pinball machine. I'll fix my own
Yeah.
stuff.
Wow.
Well, going back to Shorty, so you start hanging out at Shorty's in '98. You start playing their machines. You notice they're a little glitchy and there's mechanical problems with them. And so you offer to repair the machines.
Well, what happened was I was just in I was pretty oblivious to what was going on, aside from what the pinball machine in front of me was all kinds of messed up. So I'm like, God, it's stupid. And I'll move on to the next game. Well, this piece of shit, the flipper doesn't, and I go on. And then I'm halfway through the room, and I notice there's this blonde lady sitting on a bar stool reading the paper. And I think it was a Monday afternoon, 2:00. There's nobody there. And she kind of, I guess, got sick of my complaining and my bitching.
job.
And she said,
You fix it if you're
Yeah.
so fucking smart.
that's what she said.
Really?
And
and that was Martha.
Yeah, that was Martha. And I was, and Carl, my friend Carl, who I'm still close friends with, I was staying at his house. He's a car guy. He has a lot of tools in his basement. And I said, you know what? You tell me which game you want to fix. I'll be back tomorrow. And so I show up the next day with a little toolbox, and she had me fix a pinball machine, and she was baffled. So, oh my God, what is this? So,
works now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So who are you? And this and I said, well, I was on my way to the airport because I think my flight to Amsterdam was the same day. So I said, I got to go. See you later. But I did. We did exchange personal information, and I came back like 3-4 months later.
You said that was 98.
That was in '98. Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, I could definitely attest to like being here and being frustrated, like you described, right? Like maybe 94, 95 coming here, and like
Well, it opened in
most-
'97.
most of the machines were freaking busted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You come in here and there would be like 1 or 2 working machines, and you're like, okay, this place is cool, but
All
they
the machines are
Right.
really need a repair person.
Yeah.
Well, he was the repair person,
Right.
and eventually, you and Martha fell in love, got married.
It was a beautiful story. You want to hear that too?
Sure. Let's hear about
Maybe
it.
later. I got a few.
Okay,
minutes,
maybe later.
Before I. Yeah. No, what?
But you guys married, and you became the co-owner of the place as a result of that.
Right.
Starting in 2000.
I think, well, it wasn't necessarily a hard date. There was just an
Yeah.
organic process of problems piling up and solutions being found. One of them was the fact that I had, and I think we talked about this briefly, I amassed a little bit of a pinball collection over time in Amsterdam. But Amsterdam, the homes are small, and I only have room for one in my own house, and everything else is at friends' houses. And of course,
So it was a 2-bedroom house. I sleep in one, and the other one's just pinball machine stacked
correct,
on the roof.
yeah, or in the living room, in the kitchen, whatever. I mean, we're looking at this little. This is a full size Amsterdam apartment. It's
Right.
Yeah.
it's a 400 square foot place. That's how much room.
Yeah.
And
Take
so,
the legs off, stack them up.
yeah, or they stuff them in some basement, musty basement.
Generous taking your pinball collection and sharing it amongst your friends. Yeah.
Yeah, but then of course these dumbasses all have to they wanted to have
beer on it, motherfucker.
No, it's worse than that. They got girlfriends, and the girlfriends and they want to have babies, and then they call me and say, hey, can you come get your piece of shit pinball machine because we're decorating the baby room. It's like, oh, great, what am I going to do now with my pinball machine?
Yeah.
So eventually I had to sell a few here and there, and this all happened simultaneously as I kind of got involved with Seattle, and so then Martha and I sitting down. I was like, well, it's the easy solution. I just go back and get them all and stuff them in a container, and I ship them all back to Seattle. And yeah.
Was it your pinball repairing skills that eventually won her over and wooed her into being your wife?
What's that? I'm sorry.
What was it? Your pinball repairing skills? Is that what eventually
And my
kind
good
of
looks,
stole her heart?
obviously.
And your good looks, of course.
Yeah,
Yes,
Is that guy?
of course.
Let's not forget.
I really like a man who knows his way around a screwdriver.
Yeah, and balls.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Old joke.
Chrome balls,
Okay.
glass panels.
Yeah.
Hey, now.
Now, so you started. You co-owned Shorty's with her starting around in 2000.
Right. We got married, and then we kind of
Yeah, and things bizzled as they do. And in 2005 or so, it sounds like you guys got divorced. She decided she wanted to move from Seattle somewhere else.
Right.
And that's when you became the prime owner of
Correct.
Shorty's in
Yeah.
2005.
Yeah.
The Pinball King.
The Pinball King.
The Pinball
Waited
King.
from wizard to king.
Well, Martha
right.
was the queen of Belltown, but I don't feel I ever.
You don't feel like you ever became the queen of Belltown?
No, not during the daytime.
We're not.
anyways.
We're not here to judge. I mean, if you want to be the pinball
You just
wizard
have to
and
throw
the
the-
queen of Belltown, you can do both.
Now, do you still talk to her at all?
Occasionally, every now and then.
She must be kind of psyched that Shorty's, which was her baby, that what she kind of gave birth to, is still around and still thriving.
Yeah, I don't know. I talk to her every now and then, and I don't know if I want to, if I rub it in by bringing it up, or
Oh, okay.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure. But yeah, I mean, there definitely is a legacy that
Yeah.
is here in Seattle that she started,
Yeah,
and that's something she should be proud of.
definitely.
for.
Yeah.
And I believe, isn't this year the 25th anniversary?
This is 2022 was
Yeah.
That's right.
So happy 25 years. Happy
Yeah,
quarter
20
century. That's awesome.
Yeah. She really started something, and I don't know if she had a vision or if she just wanted to do something fun or whatever it was, but it truly, I believe, anyways, and it's not to pat pat myself on the shoulder, but it was the birthplace of a resurgence and a renaissance of pinball. It started here in the Northwest, and it's
Absolutely.
worldwide.
We have
now.
mentioned many a times that all things emanate from Seattle.
Yes.
Yeah.
The resurgence of pinball. Shorties is definitely one of the quintessential.
One of the ground zeros of that movement.
It's also a little bit national. I have a good friend in San Diego, Tanyo, and he's a pinball wizard, and he comes up to Shorties when you guys have the tournament.
Yeah.
Great.
It's
Yeah.
like when he goes
We
to
see that,
LA
yeah.
and Seattle
Yeah.
and San Francisco to wherever pinball
West Coast
on the
people.
coast. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Vancouver.
he comes up to Shorties once a year for that tournament.
Yeah.
So to recap, Seattle invented pinball machines
That is correct.
and also invented the resurgence of pinball
That's
machines and invented the modern pinball machine and invented the pinball bar.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
That's all. We were all in agreement with that.
Well, I don't know if
Very
they invented the
clear.
pinball machines, but
Yeah, we didn't invent
Well,
pinball
it-
machines,
yeah,
but
Yeah.
We'll take
that's
credit.
neither here nor there. Yeah.
That's kind of
More or less.
Yeah.
very kind.
Yeah.
Well, and probably the next big event happened in 2019 when you guys moved, and we're going to get into that in the where you at segment.
Well, there
kind
was
of
what I wanted to,
happened
what I do want to point out is that when Shorty started, it started during the dark days of pinball.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Maze
Bally,
era.
yeah. So Bally got sold to Williams in the late '80s. Williams and Gottlieb were the only manufacturers at the time. I believe Gottlieb went out of business in '95, and in '98. Williams pulled the plug on pinball production and also solely focused on slot machines, gaming. So there were no more pinball manufacturers around.
So it died for a little bit there.
Well, Stern was still around, but Stern was kind of dormant. It wasn't really it was Data East for a while, and it was Sega, and it's kind of wasn't going anywhere for a long time. They were kind of like, forgotten.
Yeah.
But they, in the end, turned out to be the only pinball manufacturer around. And in those days, we thought it was a good idea to start a pinball bar, and somehow succeeded. And you could not go online to find parts. I remember, for instance, when was that?
Notice the industry wasn't there yet online.
No,
No online. So
there was online, but nothing that was focusing on pinball as far as production of parts, selling games, whatever. That stuff didn't exist. And I remember that when we shipped all of our games to Seattle, they were sitting at the shipper's lot. And I'm like, where are my games? When are they going to be released? Oh, no, we have to take them to the customs place. They want to look at them. And so they had to put the
make sure
container.
they're not full of drugs. Good idea.
Yeah, right. So they put them on a ship on the shipping container on a truck, drove it out to somewhere in Soto, and they opened up the thing, and they didn't know what to do with. And I called them. I said, "Hey guys, if you guys need help, I can show you how these back boxes open, because there's a glass plate in front of it, artwork."
Yeah, you do it wrong, you're gonna bust something.
Well,
yeah,
but
that
what
glass ain't
happened?
cheap.
What happened was that eventually, I get a phone call and I get my stuff is released, and not all, but a few games they just smashed the glass. But I was lucky because the shipping guy apparently was there when they opened the door, so he was my witness, and everything was in tip-top shape.
Yeah.
And then it comes back from customs and it's all destroyed. So it wasn't us, it was them. And so that was an insurance claim that I got some money for, but then I couldn't buy the damn parts because there was no.
Oh, yeah.
But I sat on it for 10 years, and then the parts were.
They never found the cocaine, though, right?
They never found the cocaine. No.
Were all the
you beat them
pinball-
to it.
Were all the pinball machines kind of gone, or were there some ones that made it? Did any of the pinball
No, well,
machines
there
make
was
it through?
one was.
Yeah, are there any from the original collection that are still in the mix?
Yeah. Let's see. What is still there? Scare Stiff is at the Meyer at this point.
What's the one downstairs with the Molly Hatchet-looking cover with the Viking and the...
Oh, that's Centaur. Centaur, the black and white one?
No, that's Centaur, the one next to it. It's like World of War. It's a Vikings, muscular. He's got a woman with...
Yeah, that is Centaur. Yeah. That is actually also from, yes.
As soon as he mentioned the woman with big breasts, he's like, "Oh, that one."
Yeah, yes, that one, yeah. Yes. Well, you could talk about the guy with the small penis, but I wouldn't know. Yeah.
Any others?
Yeah, man. I have a lot of them at my.
Dangerously close to the question, what's your favorite pinball machine?
Yeah.
We're not going there.
Adam's
Yeah.
family.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Adam's Family, yeah, but I didn't have it. I didn't. Safecracker. Safecracker came from Holland as well,
Oh,
and that's
cool.
a rare
Cool.
game, you know. But a lot of stuff is in my shop in various stages of disrepair or storage, I should say.
Yep.
And every now and then I pull out of the mothballs and I start working on it, and now there's parts available. I know I can find a new back glass if I needed to, or
Do you have a Gone Fishing game somewhere in
the
there?
Fishtails.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a class one.
Fishtails.
That's a classic.
Yes, and that I believe also came from Holland.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
You have a Black Knight and a Black Knight 2000.
You know, I have the 2000 and the 3000, and the original Black Knight didn't make it in the ship. They didn't make it in a shipping container. It's still sitting somewhere in Amsterdam
bottom
or
of the
somewhere.
sea.
Yeah,
In
God,
Amsterdam, huh? So if I go back to Amsterdam, I might be able to find it.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
well, the
good.
guy.
Driver's license.
Let's go.
Go nuts.
Road trip.
Bottom of the harbor.
That's worth it. Find an original Black Knight. I'll go to Amsterdam.
Yeah, I have all the parts for it. I just don't have the game here. So no, I don't. You know, people think that I have every pinball machine in the world. That's not true. But I do have a lot of cool games that I personally like, and there's a lot of games that maybe not necessarily my personal favorites, and that people love to play. You know, and
Sure, there's a huge nostalgia component to it, right? Like people love to go back to the games that they just like obsessed in when they were like 12, 13 years old. They're like, oh my god, I remember this from blah blah blah.
Well, and there's something about analog devices now because everything is so computerized and digital. So something about analog devices are so cool, and pinballs are just right at the heart of that.
right. But the funny thing is that pinball machines were always digital. They were always digital. Even the relay games. It's just on off, and a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
The only analog element is the ball.
Is the ball.
Yeah.
Well, and the flippers, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So
whole-
they
just the whole-
were digital before digital was cool.
Yeah.
And what remains is the cock and balls are still analog.
That's right.
Here.
Yep.
Flippers
Okay.
and the balls.
Oh
We'll go with that.
the flipper and the balls. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, it's a cool. Shorty's is just a cool part of Seattle's overall pinball history, and I'm glad you guys came out. I'm glad you guys are still around, and here's to 25 more years. So
Yeah,
cheers
thanks
to you guys.
Thank you.
for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
cheers.
feel like I feel very honored to be here because, of course, this is almost like the newest bar in the city, not the oldest bar in the city.
Yeah.
By no means.
Yeah.
But I think a big part of it is that it is a place of community, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Pinball community or drinking or whatever it is, and that goes back 25 years.
One of the biggest memories for me in the community of Shorties when Anthony Bourdain came here
Oh,
a few
yeah.
years ago. What
Yeah.
a crazy! I think he came twice, but I think the first
Yeah, no, I
time
was there. I remember.
It
Yes.
was a wild time, and everyone was here from. Yeah, it was just like the talk of the town. I worked at the Pike Place Market. Oh, you got to come to Shorties.
Anthony
Yeah.
Bourdain.
Come, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what he thought of our hot dogs. I can't remember what he said. I don't even know if he ate anything. I think he already. I remember that he came after they went somewhere for dinner, and they came to hang out.
Well, I think he had an affinity for kind of blue collar, working class food places. So if he did have a hot dog, I'm sure he enjoyed it.
I think we need to dive a little bit deeper into this Coney Island sauce.
Yeah, the Coney Island sauce is all from before.
Jeremy with the callback.
Yeah.
What's in the Coney Island sauce?
Yeah,
Who knows what's in the Coney?
delicious.
I know. All I know is that since Martha was from Flint, Michigan. She I don't know how she probably saw it in the store. She had it when she was a kid. There was a place somewhere in Flint, and they made that sauce. It's some kind of meat sauce that we would pour over our hot dogs.
Kind of like a chili, sort of?
Yeah.
Was it spicy?
No, not a
There's
chili,
different-
Lou. It was a meat sauce.
Yeah, it's
Pay
a meat-
attention.
It's a meat sauce, and there's also a meatless. Apparently, a meatless.
It's almost, was it kind of like a
Meatless
chili?
meat sauce?
Wait, what's
Wait, what's going on?
It's not a chili.
Tony Packer.
Well, but it's a meat
guys
sauce,
pay
I know, but That's what I'm picturing.
But apparently it's a meat sauce without meat.
Think of it as a gravy. It's a gravy, meat gravy.
Okay, gravy.
All right.
And
Coney Island gravy.
But the stuff is expensive. It had to be chilled.
It's a perishable food product.
Yeah.
It's
Fresh.
extraordinaire because it's meat. It's good for like a week.
Yeah, and then nobody buys it, and you have to throw it away.
Did Anthony Bourdain have any suggestions on how you could concoct your own Coney Island?
No, I think if I remember,
meat sauce.
I don't think if I remember correctly, I don't think Anthony was interested in much else, but kind of shooting the shit here and there with some folks, and there was a couple of guys that he was friends with.
Free booze.
And I want my free hot dog.
Do you know who I am? Did he tell you this?
Yeah.
That'll be $6 surge.
Yeah. Well, he's no longer with us, but it was there was and I wish I had a better memory, but every now and then stuff pops up. It's like, oh my God, that was such a crazy night, And I'm not even here for the bartender. I bet you the bartenders can tell you all kinds of stories that I don't know anything about.
The best dive bars in the world are going to have those. Wait, remember that one night stories, right? Pretty much de rigueur for where we've been.
Yeah. And unfortunately, some of that stuff, 25 years, big chunk of time, kind of got erased when they mowed the block.
Yeah.
But then the soul apparently moved here,
Nice.
So that is more important, I think.
Yeah.
Let's get into the details of the move, because that's an important chapter of the Shorty's history. But before that,
round
2. That's what I'm thinking.
let's get round 2.
I got to hit the head. House band, Satan's Pilgrims. Take us out. Back in 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, Satan's Pilgrims.
All right, we're back with round 2.
You know what I just realized? Seeing all it's too bad that this is not TV, so the viewers at home cannot see what we're looking at.
Close your eyes and imagine.
The sea of blue booze everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm the lone man out here. I'm surrounded by...
Yeah. What we could do is a little bit experiment and see what radio sounds like when everybody has a major brain freeze. Guzzle these guys down.
Oh my God! Oh wow, Ava, you are rolling us into a standard segment, which is what you drinking. We could do a super mini what you drinking because we're all drinking the same fucking thing, which makes it really easy.
Let's kick it back to you and tell us what you drinking tonight.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Lou. I'm drinking a very odd-looking blue concoction that looks like a Slurpee that you get from 7-Eleven or something, but in fact is a very, very delicious
Dayquil.
It's Dayquil margarita. We'll call it the Dayquil margarita. Whether or not it actually has Dayquil in there is a very secret proprietary Shorty's recipe that cannot be divulged on air. But it looks like Dayquil. It's pretty much glow in the dark blue. We're all drinking it. It's all delicious.
They're good. Yeah.
And on tap. Which
that's right.
Nice
like a
slushy
with a
exactly
handle
and little Slurpee machine.
Stuff getting mixed around. And
2 flavors.
It's 4, 2 down and 2 up. Ava, what do we got?
All the flavors.
Yep.
Okay, the flavors are we have pina colada up in the trophy room and
pina what?
Pina colada. Pina colada.
I got. What was the second one?
And the second one, I don't know what it is. It's some kind of berry vodka concoction.
Oh, that sounds yummy.
But it's downstairs we have the other 2 classics.
Margaritas, right?
Yeah, it's margaritas and daiquiris.
Oh, what's the red daiquiri? Does that have a funky name?
No, it does not. But we could come up with one.
Robitussin daiquiri?
Robitussin daiquiri.
Cherry Robitussin daiquiri.
As Ava has told me before, here's a pro tip for all you Dim Lights and Stiff Drinks fans. If you see a bar that offers a frozen pre-mixed concoction, that is a good value for your dollar.
That's right.
Quantity of alcohol.
Yeah.
Because if you mix it light, the shit freezes up.
Yeah.
So you have to have enough alcohol in it
to keep it slushy, otherwise it'll freeze up.
So, Jeremy, I noticed you can get it in two sizes. There's the toddler size, and there's the Jeremy size.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I have a significantly larger beverage than all of y'all motherfuckers. But no
Jeremy
apologies.
will be calling an Uber in about 45 minutes.
So, by that logic, Lou, apparently all the slushies in 7-Eleven are high in alcohol because they don't freeze? Is that
is
out?
correct.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
That is correct.
Good.
It's
Let's not get that detail. Let's not let that leak out, but good to know.
Nice. So you guys want to do a little where we at?
yeah. Where are we at?
Yeah, let's do
Where are we
where
at?
Because we're in Belltown at Shorty's, a.k.a. Shorty's Coney Island. The second best bar in town.
Whoa, wait. We got the owner here, Lou. Ixnay on the second
second?
A.
Well, no, we can never say what the first one is because we don't want to alienate anybody.
Of course.
But if there's a second, it's Shorty's in Belltown. And one of the best bars in town and a place to go for pinball, beer, cocktails, and hot dogs.
And bowling.
And bowling. That's true. There's a analog bowling machine up in the trophy room. It's pins on the ground. It simulates the...
And a skee ball machine downstairs, too. So, which
that's
is
a
kind of
skee
like
ball, yeah.
bowling, but
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, what do you call that? White trash bowling? I don't know.
I don't know. Coin up.
Let's talk about Belltown, because Belltown, there's actually a bell. It's named after William Nathaniel Bell. He was a resident of Portland who came up here in 1851.
I mean, Ava was good friends with him, I'm sure, right? Yeah.
Well,
1851? Yeah.
Yeah. He was a resident of Portland who came up here in 1851 to join the Denny Party. Oh. And like others in the party, he used the Donation Land Claim Act to claim his 320 acres at no charge. Right?
Not a bad deal.
So, but
He's like, right here, I'm going to put a big pinball parlor. It's going to be great.
yeah, but it wasn't 320 acres of what you see now. It was just rugged territory, right?
Right.
But the Denny family claimed the hill overlooking Pioneer Square and Doc Maynard and Carson Boren. Took the stuff on the bottom.
So let me get this straight. Did Chief South, what was his name? Chief South?
GCL? Yep.
Did he just come and say, "Come on, come over here. Yeah, here's 320 acres. Come on."
I don't think there was that
simple.
welcome quite there.
And that's
Wasn't that
that's a good.
not quite as amicable as that?
I don't think so.
and that's some
No,
foreshadowing there, about.
but that's a different story, right?
Bell chose the land near the bay, so he went up the road a little bit. And in 1856, Native Americans burned his house to the ground.
Good for them.
Because they're like, yeah, that free land, yeah.
About that.
He legged into California immediately after for the safety of his
Little
family.
legger.
And in 1870, his wife died, and so he moved back to develop the land that already was in his possession. And he established several businesses on his land, and this is kind of cool. Virginia Street
Yeah,
and Olive Street are named after his
Lenora.
daughters.
Okay.
Lenora is one of the daughters, I think.
No, Virginia and Olive. That was his mistress.
No, you're right, though. Lenora is not
A legitimate
Bell's
child.
daughter, but somebody else's, one of the Denny Party's daughters? Virginia's somebody else's daughter.
Is that what Michael Jackson singing about? You know, Billie Jean and stuff.
Michael Jackson's daughter. Yes.
Michael
Seattle is named after Michael Jackson's daughter.
Okay.
Once
Yes.
again.
You heard it here first.
Yes.
All right, so
Thank you.
Virginia and Olive
Yeah.
Streets are named after his daughters, and Stewart Street is named after his son-in-law.
Okay.
Oh wow.
All right, so that's enough about Belltown. But I thought we would talk this week and where we're at about exactly where we're at, because we are at 2nd Avenue and Bell Street, right?
Belltown. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And Shorty's used to be on the next block, which is second between Bell and Blanchard. And the Belltown Ground Zero was that block for years, right?
Right.
It was the coolest strip in town for nightlife. You had Mama's, Mexican Kitchen on the corner, Lava Lounge, Shorty's, Tula's, Rocco's, Voodoo Lounge, and the iconic music
Rabbit Hole.
Crocodile.
Oh, it was,
And what was the Pink Bar? Oh my God, the Neon Boots.
Yes.
So
Nightlife
life
just
was
down the
good.
street?
yeah, that was a good stretch of land
that's
for
a great
nightlife.
9 bars.
Yeah.
That was a 2-block area that was
The
just
Rendezvous,
Yeah, the
Oh,
rendezvous,
just
the jewel box.
Yeah.
Jewel Box, the
just
F-Hole.
epitome
Sit and
of
spin, not too far.
fantastic dive bar lore, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
just epic stuff.
Yeah.
And, life was
And we're not
good.
even mentioning all the true old drinking holes, old man drinking holes, like was
Virginia
it
Inn?
Palmer's?
No.
That Palmer's closed when I came to Seattle. And there was the place on the corner, the Irish bar, Kelly's, and those are all 6 a.m. bars. You know?
Did you ever hang out at the Two Bells?
Two Bells, yes. The original Trough Room had the booths from the Two Bells.
That's right. Yeah, that's cool.
When they closed, we bought their booths and shoved them down the block to the Trough Room here, the old Trough Room in Meyer, Shorty's.
So wait,
I'm sorry.
Clearly hauled all of that equipment by horse through the street, or by elephant. Hauled them by elephant through the street.
Circus elephants.
Circus elephants down the streets to the new location.
That's right.
Right? I mean that. Okay.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
So
we got a lot of trouble with that. With the
life was good, and then in 2015, word came down that that whole block was going to be gonzo for redevelopment. And at the time, there was this kind of boom of Chinese land and development owners that were scooping up real estate in Seattle.
For investments.
Yes, for investments.
Purchasing 95% of Ballard.
I'm not talking out of school when I say this, but a friend of a friend owned the Mama's Mexican Kitchen plot at the corner there. And he bought it in 1999.
R.I.P. Mamas.
$900,000, good investment. And in 2015, a Chinese company offered him a fair price of $2 million. And he was like, I'm going to keep it. I kind of like it. And they're like, okay, $2.5 million. He's like, well, it'll be worth that soon enough. I don't want to retire. And they're like, okay, $3 million. And I was like, look, I don't want to retire. Leave me alone. And then they came back and were like, $4.5 million.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I will fucking retire.
You can't refuse. And then his head exploded. You can't say no to that. So they were ready to start marching down the block and building a high-rise. And that's when the little bar that fought back and stopped them in their tracks, at least for another 7 to 10 years, happened. And I'm talking about Abe Out and Shorty's. Tell us how the neighborhood group came up and stuck those mean old developers with a $4.5 million Mexican restaurant.
Well, the burritos were really good.
Oh, Mama's
burritos
fantastic.
were epic. Yeah.
And the Elvis room. And,
I miss their food.
It's and that place had been there since the mid 70s. I believe 74, 75 is when it opened. So by that, it's been around for a long time. The two generations basically. And, the cool thing about what I always liked about Mama's more than anything else was not the salsa or the waitresses. It was the fact that they were open by 11:30, whatever time it was. And as soon as they turned the lights on, the open sign on, Belltown was open for business. And it would rain or shine, didn't matter. People would line up, have lunch there. The bars would be open, party started, And now here, we're on this block, it's a little different because, now we are the quote-unquote institution. Yeah,
there's not a lot of old-school eating establishments in this neighborhood anymore.
No, well, Rocco's moved
there's
moved
lots
here.
of new school eating, and some of them are great, right? But like the old, like Mama's, the old-school restaurants, like you said, here from the 60s and 70s and stuff, they ain't many of those left.
Yeah, no, there's not.
Are you friendly with Jesus over at Rocco?
Oh, yeah.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
And so, but to get back to your question, I don't know if
at some point you banded together you were trying to historically designate this block.
Yeah,
so
there was
be demolished.
There was the, and I have to give credit to Steve Hall, who was one of the, and there was another guy, Evan Clifthorne, who was trying to motivate the city hall, the city council, to change the laws, so they couldn't just come in here and pick up all these properties for paying to the dollar and then mow it all down and build something and then walk away, because that's what's happening all over the place.
Yeah. Old Navy, a Gap, a Target.
Yeah.
The shit that we see all over this country.
With $1 million condos on top.
Right. And so we don't need that here in Belltown. And, and I understand, how these unreinforced masonry buildings have a crosshatch on their front door because they need to be fixed, We're living in a dangerous place.
Well, and then also that's a very convenient excuse, right? You've got an amazing building that is like some of the last remnants of affordable housing in the city.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, that's not seismic proof or whatever. We're going to have to demolish it and put up, $1 million condos in its place.
Yeah.
It's a fucking convenient excuse.
And, and of course, the people own that building, let it go to hell. It was just, it was years behind and neglect. There were so many problems and it was unsafe and God knows what. But, to
get back on track, I'm talking specifically about the time you have the Clown Brigade to save the neighborhood.
Well, there was
That's a good story.
Right?
Yeah, that was. But then
I came
again,
down here for that. I brought my kids and my fucking dog.
Yes.
And, we were walking up the street, and
it's a
like clowns.
I can't take credit for it because
it's being signed.
It was the same thing with with all the other guys who would go to the city hall for all these meetings, but it was just a bunch of unorganized people who all wanted the same thing.
Grassroots.
Grassroots. Yeah. But no
lawyers. No one actually knew how to get things done.
No. It was
and the Seattle way.
and that's why I mentioned guys like Steve Hall and Evan Cliffhorn who were trying to get this an organized troop organized. You know what I mean? And let's make this a movement, and they can't just walk over us. But I don't know. I think what happened is because Shorty's was kind of done with the older buildings, and the Wayne Apartments, which is the building we're talking about, was the last building to survive the regrade that was still standing.
And had residential units on top.
Yeah, it provided
another one of the rare affordable housing units in the
area. That's what saved it, right? They were like, "Oh, we can't demolish this block because there's 3 shitty apartments on top of the lava lamp."
Right. Yeah, it was more than 3, but that's right. And so they didn't want to. We were not necessarily the organizers. We were just. I guess the brand name because Shorty's, it's Shorty's, but we were actually next door. And when the Wayne Apartments got landmark status, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, you guys got saved." No, we didn't get saved because first of all, it's a building next door, and the landmark status doesn't mean shit.
So you got out while the getting was good. At the time when you moved, I was like, "Why are you moving? It's been saved." And you're like, "No, it's temporary. We got 5 to 10 years."
Yeah, no. By the time we moved, it was 2019.
Yes.
And at that point, I had, I forget what our lease was, year to year or something. My landlord told me, "Look, you have 1 more year." So there was no more, and in 2015, when it first became news that they were going to redevelop the block, there was people interested or had bought the property, blah blah blah. That's when my sense of urgency kicked in.
The clock was ticking. You knew.
But I was already looking for a place because I was working on a year to year or 2 year to 2 year.
Yeah.
I think this is not going to last much longer.
Well, you picked a good place to move to because this has some serious historical significance too.
Right.
So you're in a cool place.
Yeah.
You picked a good place.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Belltown, I suppose. We had this pit hole, the armpit of Belltown that got changed into this cultural hub, where all the people go to eat and drink and hang out and do all these things. And but then right up the street there is a whole other, the Movie Row buildings.
Right.
All these Movie Row buildings here are historic, and my landlord obviously bought this building and it got, it basically got gutted and earthquake retrofitted and so now we're set up for the future where we don't have to worry about we're going to be gone next year maybe.
Knowing what you've had to go through in multiple locations,
strong stuff.
Do you still think your days are numbered in this location?
No, my days are numbered maybe, but this place will outlive me.
Good.
I think
good.
Our friend Lou is dying here. Strong stuff.
Went down the wrong pipe.
That's words, buddy.
Somebody give him the Heimlich.
Yeah.
The new location has almost as
as much of a rich, storied history as the old location, right?
Yeah.
So, which is super cool. I mean, you don't see that happening very often. Like,
it's not like you had to move to some nondescript strip mall or something.
Right. I mean, and that's typically what happens. You go from a historic building that unfortunately got razed because of gentrification into some whatever, nondescript whatever. But to go from one historic location into another.
Yeah, and this building is historic for many reasons.
Yeah.
For one thing, it used to be Howard Hughes' movie studio.
Oh, wow.
So this was his bedroom.
Oh, yeah. Can I give you a tiny bit of backstory? Is for some time, Belltown was a low-rent, semi-industrial arts district, and a portion of this was known as Film Row.
Yeah.
Servicing around 470 commercial movie theaters in the Northwest.
Amazon Studios, right around the corner.
In 1923, Seattle had 26 different motion picture machines and supply companies. And filming is highly flammable, right?
Right.
And so they wanted to
acetate
into a neighborhood. And Belltown was the film district, right?
Yeah, and this building is interesting because the front half is wood, the back half is concrete, and the basement had all these cellars with an open shaft up to the roof, sort of blast shafts. Because if those acetate movies would catch on fire, it was explosive.
Yeah, it was flammable as fuck. It might as well be napalm. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that that's probably a contributor to one of the reasons that Belltown has a very outsized, extremely large fire station.
Oh,
just down the street.
It's
huge.
As old as
right, and it's huge. I mean, you look at any other neighborhood in the
I never thought of that.
Seattle, and it's like, wait a second, why is there this massive 3.5 block fire station in a little dinky Belltown? It's like, oh, it's because the whole fucking neighborhood's flammable.
It's a bomb waiting to go off.
Yeah, and so aside from whatever movies Howard Hughes may have watched here or not, there was a whole. Eventually, all that movie stuff died here, and.
And then in 1980, Universal Studios was the last one to leave.
Oh, really? Yeah. Warner Brothers. Everybody had and across the street is the youth hostel or the hostel.
Yep.
And that used to be the hotel where they set up all the movie bosses.
Oh, like for screenings?
Yeah. No, the hotel's right across the street. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But then
you had the Rendezvous Theater and the Jewel Box were kind of the Crown theaters here.
Yeah. You can't see it anymore, but it used to be a wall here, and it had all these little square holes for different projectors that they used.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But I don't know if they probably gutted their viewing rooms because there was no.
We just thought that was cool, funky architecture, and it's like, nope, completely functional.
Yeah, completely functional.
Nice.
That's right. But then, I don't know what happened. We're probably skipping many years, but then the grunge thing happened, and Pearl Jam was, if I remember correctly, and I wasn't here for this at the time, but the practice spaces were right here in the basement of this building.
2 weeks in a row, Eddie Vedder practiced downstairs at Shorty's, and he lives in West Seattle near Pogie Tavern. Come on the show.
Yeah.
In a future episode, we will have Eddie Vedder as a guest on this podcast. Mark my words.
That's right. You guys making fun of me?
No.
What's funny?
Well, hey,
funny? You think I'm funny?
If we can get Eddie Vedder, Eddie Vedder on the podcast, then we can get Abe out. Right? That's right.
Yeah, it's a budget podcast, a budget party, budget drinks.
Hey, don't be knocking the Dayquil margaritas here. They're delicious.
That thing? How
They're
did that
fucking
happen?
delicious.
You know how to sell that, Ava. Thank you.
Well,
but a lot of punk rock bands, the Briefs, were in the basement. And I remember when we're doing construction, I sometimes park in the alley, you load the van, you come back out, and the next thing you know, there's a bunch of Chinese kids staring at you like, oh, it's like, what? And this guy's like talking Chinese, and it's like, yeah, the tour guide.
They're there for the band?
And every now and then I hear Pearl Jam. Oh shit, they're here. This is a tour. Because they're checking out the birthplace of grunge.
Yeah.
This particular door.
Okay.
So let's recap. Seattle
birthplace of grunge
And pinball.
and birthplace of pinball
And computers.
and computers and
Consumer air travel.
and apparently the film industry also birthed here in Seattle.
Budget parties.
Budget parties, margaritas. We invented Dayglow green margaritas.
Yeah, do you miss going to 5 hardware stores to look for the thing you want, or do you just want to order it on Amazon? Seattle, thank you very much.
We invented worthless hardware stores? Yes, we did.
The death
Yes.
of retail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Say that again. What's the death of retail?
Oh, Amazon.
Oh, Amazon. There you go.
You ever drive
Seattle
to
invented the
10
death of
different
retail.
stores to look for what you wanted,
No.
and you can't fucking find it anywhere.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Now
death
you
of
just order it
retail,
online.
rest
Yeah.
in peace, Ernst. Just throwing that out.
Ernst? Wow.
Ace Hardware's still
throwback.
around, though.
The listener of our podcast will remember Ernst Hardware. Not.
I just bought a shovel at Ace Hardware, and that is the best damn shovel, I gotta tell you. And if you're in the market for a good shovel, Ace Hardware.
I think a whole
A flathead or a spade?
Spade.
a whole other episode specifically about Seattle-based hardware stores.
Yeah.
Because we do
True
have
value.
a rich
Hardwicks?
rich
Hardwicks.
history of hardware
Tacoma?
stores. Hell
Tacoma
yeah.
Hardware?
Hell yeah.
Tacoma
So
Screw?
Tacoma Screw, I was just
let
gonna say
us
that.
find a dive hardware store. Is it? Yeah?
The list is endless. I mean, when it comes to
spin-off.
Northwest, yeah.
I think so.
My dad owned a hardware store. You're not going to believe this.
No shit. Oh my god. You are going to come be a guest in our hardware store.
See, I'm just hoping for the next
Dive
budget party I want
podcast
to
spin-off.
be part of.
We're bringing you with us.
Oh, great.
You're going to go talk about hardware
Let's
stores.
not make them wait. What was the name of the store?
Oh God! Well, it was kind of like the Dutch equivalent of Ace Hardware. So it was
Like IKEA?
yeah, yeah. IKEA.
How did we not mention Chevy
We did have-
Chevys?
Oh, I know.
We did have
No
IKEA.
skipping
There you
ahead.
go.
Come on.
Yeah.
We had IKEA furniture, style furniture. The stuff comes in a cardboard box, and you figure out how to put it together. And it lasts you probably
God bless Sweden.
5 years. Yeah, until you have to move it.
Yeah, then it all just falls apart. Yeah, exactly.
They did that, but there was also there was a lumberyard. There was
Seattle invented Swedish furniture.
They did.
Yeah, that's right.
What else did they?
The Swedish meatball? Seattle.
Really?
No, I
Oh
don't.
shit. The Swedish. I'm a vegetarian.
Let's
I
just
don't
put
know.
that out there, though.
Swedish is just
No one will question it. Well, speaking of the old Film Row, so when I first moved to Seattle in the early 90s, I don't remember if it was on 2nd or 3rd, somewhere close to here, part of Old Film Row, they had basically transformed an old movie screening room into a porn theater. I don't remember the name of this place.
Oh yeah.
But it was right down here, and they were still, like showing porn in a theater setting, like old school style from the 70s. And me and some buddies, just out of curiosity, walked in there, and the thing that stuck in my head is that they were selling popcorn at the front. And I remember thinking, who goes into a porn theater and buys popcorn? Is that what it was? Is that what it was? But I just
Did they have
they sold popcorn.
Did they have Twizzlers
Did it
too?
say? Now wait a minute.
They may
How
have.
old were you when you went? Were you drunk? Maybe the sign said cock porn, not popcorn.
Cockporn.
Poppycock.
Poppycock. Yeah. Anyway, a little Film Row.
Puns just write themselves.
Footnote there for
really,
you.
Yeah. Well, seriously though,
I got seeds in my
Seattle has a rich history of hardware stores. We could do a whole fucking series of podcasts on that for sure, and an awesome history of adult entertainment. Lusty Lady being kind of one of the well-known.
Yeah.
I think I see some spin-offs. I see some spin-offs in our future.
Possibilities are endless.
Yeah. The history is rich. It's very interesting.
Right.
There's a few tiny little places that we could still go and record. Not many. Thank God. Thank God we still have dive bars.
I realize
and awesome
now
places
that
like Shorty's we can come to.
once you guys arrived at Shorty's, it's time to. You're at the bottom of the barrel. We got to rethink this. We got to rethink this concept here. Maybe hardware stores is better next time.
Yeah, wow, we're kind of scraping. It's like, oh, well, okay, what else we got? We're done with dive bars. We got porn, hardware stores.
Unless we remind you, we were at the second best bar in the city. So,
Well, shit, we were almost out of time here and going to be wrapping up, but this is our final episode for Season 2, which is hard to believe.
I know.
But
I know.
We've got another season in the bag. We're already talking some awesome ideas, some great stuff, some fantastic places we are going to visit for Season 3.
Absolutely,
so definitely need to stay tuned for that. And
That's
we'll have
great.
you along for the ride, Ave out.
I should appreciate it.
But I thought it'd be kind of cool. Maybe all of us go around round robin real quick, including you, Ave out, about some of our favorite places that we visited in Season 2. And Ave out, maybe you can talk about some like your favorite dive bar joints
and
the
owner of Jules Mays and the
hell yeah.
That's how we kicked off Season 2.
That's right. Kicked off
that's
Season
great.
2
with
the bookend.
First idea.
So yeah, we started out Season 2 in the search for Seattle's oldest bar. And we visited a few different places. We visited Jules Mays, the Merchant Cafe, and the Central Tavern.
Yep.
Or the Central Saloon, I guess it's now known as. And we found out that the Merchant was indeed the oldest bar in Seattle.
Spoiler alert.
But it was a cool way to start the season. It was cool to visit these old historic places in historic Pioneer Square.
Go back to episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Awesome content.
Yeah.
Oldest bar.
Yeah. And over Season 2, we also visited the Backdoor Pub on Lake City Way. Mm-hmm. We made our first trip to Capitol Hill at the Deluxe.
Yeah. Also went over to West Seattle.
West Seattle.
Pogies.
Yep.
Went to the Water Wheel.
Oh, the water wheel.
Green
cool.
Lake. So that was one of the big surprises
Yeah.
for Season 2 for me was the Little Red Hen, because I'm not like a big country guy. It's a country bar. Country's not really my scene. So I was kind of like, went in there, not really knowing what to expect. But that turned out to be an awesome place.
Yeah.
So for me, that was kind of like one of the highlights of Season 2 for me.
Yeah.
That was super fun.
Yeah.
I for Season 2, I'd have
Judy
to.
Olsby.
Yeah.
Judy,
Yeah.
Olsby.
One of those killer murals in there.
Some of the fantastic places that we met.
Naked on Horseback and John Wayne.
Wait,
Yeah.
naked on a horseback?
Yeah.
Naked? They were naked on
Owner.
Listen to it again, Jeremy. Keep going.
I'll listen and I'll see the naked person on the. Okay. Anyway, yeah. No, for sure. But like the cool people that we met along the way, the awesome things that we saw along the way. I got a shout out to the Water Wheel. You mentioned the Water Wheel. That was fantastic. I love the Water Wheel for a couple of reasons. One is the bartender was super cool.
Yeah.
Remember the bartender?
Yeah.
Very chill.
Yep. And they had a trademark characteristic that is has been fantastic for a lot of the dive bars that we've visited them both. There you go, right? Season 1 and Season 2, the U-shaped bar,
which
was a carryover from their old location. We had a cool story about whatever. They also had a pretty awesome patio that they expanded, a COVID patio, if you want to call it that, because they expanded like whatever, and outside, distancing and all that.
During the smoke.
The smoke.
Oh,
storm.
Man. That was, that wasn't like great, but that was weird.
Yeah.
Memorable.
It was memorable, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But awesome location, but also just
We're
the
gonna
fact
eat that
that
a couple days early.
we talked about what I think is very emblematic of Seattle, which is we were in an area that was rife with gentrification, and we were in a location, the Water Wheel Tavern, that was like bucking that trend, much like Shorty's has done, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point.
There's shit has come and gone over Seattle history and like just mowed over awesome historic businesses, but some of them have like
Given the middle finger and like, nope, we're
fucked
staying.
over like the history and society and said like we're still here, we're still rocking, we're still a kick-ass bar. Shorty's is one of them. I think the Water Wheel was another awesome one over in Ballard.
Here, here. Yeah, well said.
All right, so we're getting ready to knock it on the head.
Well, what's your
I
favorite
think so.
memories you like to
Oh, from
Season
my
2.
favorite one was Merchants, probably.
Oh yeah,
Merchants was
well,
fun.
you know, and
Seattle.
yeah, and I just wanted to say in general, you know, of course I wasn't part of the whole series, and I wasn't. Part
You were
of the
with us
series.
in spirit, Ava. You were with us in spirit.
You were.
Of
Yeah,
course,
you were with us.
I appreciate that, guys. But I just want to say that, you know, in general, I feel that, you know, Pioneer Square being the original Seattle neighborhood, as they say, there are remnants left of what used to be there. The Merchant Bar is one of them. Central, Central, and that's probably what the correct name would be for if you switch tavern to saloon. A saloon has hard liquor. tavern does not have.
That's right.
That's correct.
That's
yeah.
right.
But it's the original Seattle, and all the gentrification has been happening. People complain about how old Seattle, the place is going to hell. Right. I always tell. Why don't you just go to fucking Pioneer Square?
That's right.
It hasn't. It
Yeah.
hasn't changed for as long as I've lived here.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
true.
It's still the same shithole that you long to see. That
we know and love. That we know and love.
Yeah,
That's right.
And let's give a shout out to the Meyer, which is a great bar,
Yeah,
which
no,
is right
yeah,
next door to Bon Voyage thrift
Yes.
shop owned by Keith.
Yes,
Shout out to
Keith.
Cool
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, and those guys, and that's what I mean. And that's a neighborhood where people set up shop because they love it, not so much because they want to get rich. It's because they love being there.
They
And
love
it's,
being part of that historic tradition. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
and there's a lot of true flavor in that neighborhood that you don't see anywhere else in Seattle.
Damn
true.
straight.
Yeah.
Damn
Shout out
straight.
to the square.
You're not
Shout out
wrong.
to Lloyd Gregory.
And Bob, what about you? What's your looking back on season 2?
I'd say probably a couple of the most memorable for me. I really enjoyed the Slim's Last Chance. We went there for the Thursday night for the party.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a party.
Little loud, little noisy, but little fun,
Yeah,
little
that-
boisterous.
That was a great time, and then obviously I liked the Streamline. That was kind of like close to me. But then the Pogie Tavern, just because
Pogies.
I'm from West Seattle, I spent many an afternoon at that bar stool.
Yeah.
Either
Supposed to say
solo,
night.
or with my friend Jerry, or even with my sister. We'd go there, and Big Jim would just pour us up, and we'd just sit there and So I like the Pogies, fun place.
That was a good one.
I
Yeah.
feel like I was back home when I was over there.
Awesome.
Well, I'm thinking prepping for season 3 here. We need to branch out a bit, do more of the little deep dives into the West Seattle, Capitol Hill, like you mentioned. Maybe revisit Pioneer Square. There's definitely some places.
Maybe get to Magnolia, to the boxcar.
Yep. Yeah. That's on my radar.
Lots of opportunity.
The
Game
Gimwa.
is also a Magnolia man.
The Gimwa.
What?
The Gimwa.
Yep.
The Chinese restaurant, the Gimwa.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think they only have 2 kinds of booze on the shelf.
We gotta head to the rickshaw. We gotta head over over to Ballard. We gotta there's stick around. We got more to come for sure.
Yeah, we did Baranoff this year. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one too. Oh, and
Yeah.
then
Talking to them.
shout out to the Baranoff and the Marie's blue cheese dressing. That story is amazing. I've told so many people.
Yeah.
Marie's blue cheese dressing started on Greenwood Avenue.
So again,
Baranoff. Yeah.
to recap, Seattle invented blue cheese dressing.
That's right.
That's right.
I see a theme here.
Yeah. And in fact, I think we invented salad dressing.
In general, before Seattle came along, people were just eating salad raw.
Yeah.
Just lettuce. And,
Raw kale and
Yeah,
lettuce. And
yeah.
stuff. It was disgusting. Yeah. And then Seattle's like, what the
and
hell?
then Marie was like, "No, you shall have
fuck are you
something on
doing?"
that salad."
That's right. Yeah, we are running out of new neighborhoods to explore, but we still got
We still got
Plenty.
a lot of
we
places.
got Wedgwood, we got Sandpoint.
We got like 15 seasons. Easy. Easy.
We haven't been to
Yeah.
ID.
We'll
So
all
let's
be
do some karaoke
we'll all be
nights.
like 80 years old still doing this fucking
And then you guys can
podcast.
go down to SeaTac and see what's over
Yeah,
yeah.
there's some great
That's a
shit
real-
in SeaTac.
Lucky Lick.
Tacoma,
Liquor.
we gotta go to
Yeah.
Tacoma.
R.I.P. the Bullpen. That was a nice.
And we also talked
the
about
Bullpen off Pack Highway.
Oh, I don't even
Yeah.
know
Oh,
what that is.
boy.
we
It's
talked
no
about
longer
doing
with
some
us.
road trips, maybe heading to like maybe Vegas.
Snohomish.
No, I'm thinking like fucking Vegas. Head out maybe New York. We'll go to Buffalo.
Oh, you're talking about the franchise.
We'll go to Detroit,
And Lou said he was going to fund all this, right?
Chicago. Come on.
We'll get a piece.
You know, can I say something else? I just realized that Seattle is the birthplace of the Bar Podcast.
Oh
Yeah,
I know.
look at this guy.
And that is
We invented podcasts.
Yes.
There's a reason we keep you around.
yeah, all of them. Yeah, guys.
Nice. Good
Thanks for
call.
having me. It was,
Well, thank you for
Oh,
having us here.
yeah.
This was awesome.
Thanks again, Abe out.
yeah.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
We're here at Shorty's.
Yeah, I can't believe that I somehow wound up in this place and now I'm sitting here shooting the shit about, cheap drinks and making
You're an
stupid
old timer
jokes.
now, like reminiscing, yeah.
Yeah, the good old.
And it's still going
Well
strong.
earned. You are
How did that happen?
Very well earned.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
second best bar in town.
Great way to wrap up season 2. We got lots of great shit coming for season 3. We talked about, gave a little hint, little taste, little
Yeah,
little tip of the-
little teaser.
little teasers of what's coming up for season 3. So stick around, like, subscribe, and follow. we'll be here kicking off season 3 here in just a couple of weeks.
And until then, cheers to everybody.
And happy 2023. And if
Happy
you're listening to
2023.
this 40 years in the future, happy whatever the fuck year you're in.
Dim Light Stiff Drinks out.